for organizing this meeting. I also see, very distinguished also others from your side, I see.
Yeah, there is Diego Galde, who will talk at the end of my conference. He's an artist and designer, and I want to show something of his work that I'm very proud. And there is Richard Ibarra, that it's my husband and my fan.
Follower.
I'm a follower. And it's Marianne is a student of Anahuac, and she helped me always with the translation and everything.
So I have to join another meeting, which was organized months ago.
Okay,
it was supposed to be tied, but I just wanted to say, welcome. And
Thank you very much.
On behalf of our students, everyone, colleagues, and because it's being recorded, I'll watch it, and I got also your work. I'll see everything on location.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
See
you too.
Thank you,
See you.
Jonathan.
Ciao.
Thank you. Okay, we have some students have arrived, some professors have arrived. We are here crowded as well. You don't see, as I said, Lilian, but we are watching you, and thank you so much for inviting Diego and Richard and also the others. We are really excited to listen to your work.
Thank you very much. And I'm very honored to be invited to your university and your beautiful country.
And we hope that it's going to be real. And, I would love to be able to come to Mexico. And maybe for the San Diego Tijuana World Design Capital 2026.
Yeah.
Maybe students do not know, but it's the first time that two countries jointly become the World Design Capital. It's Tijuana and San Diego. They're very close to one another. So there is a really exciting thing going on. It's going to be in 2024. I said it.
Yeah, it's the second time from Mexico.
Yeah.
Then you have to come.
Yes, so 2024 we have to go to Mexico. Okay, so 2 years
Yes,
time.
for sure, you're very welcome.
I hope, well, actually, my sister just moved to Arizona, Tucson. It's close to Tijuana. I hope to come and visit. If I'm there, I would love to pass to Mexico. Let's see.
Yes.
Okay, we are ready, and the stage is yours. The students are seeing you perfectly. We are hearing you perfectly. Let me first introduce you. I'm going to just do this. I'm going to read, if I may. I'm going to read like, okay, Lilián González González, which we met actually like in 2019, right?
Yeah.
Yes, in 2019 we were together in Hyderabad, India. That's how we met in a World Design General Assembly. And since then, now it's been 3 years, and I'm so proud and happy for Lilián to be in the board of World Design Organization. She's fresh, and it's so good to have to see a Latin woman power in the board. Like after Marta, you keep doing it. It's really a sustained power there, and I'm really happy and proud about it. Well, Lilián González is the academic coordinator in the Department of Industrial Design at the Universidad Anahuac, Mexico. I can't pronounce it.
You did well.
Okay, thank you. As I said, she's the member of the board of directors at the World Design Organization. She's a commercial and expert advisor in the NUB companies specialized in the reclining armchairs. She's a critical theory writer on art and design. You can check designforsociety.org, an interesting website. I checked for it. So it's nice. It's really.
It's in Spanish, but I'm trying to translating all the rights.
She's a PhD candidate in critical theory about social design experience and holds a master's degree in contemporary art. She worked as a designer and lecturer in different cities around Mexico, which helped her develop a wide vision about design opportunities industrially, culturally, and academically. She has experience in the Mexican design industry and the government. She worked for shoe manufacturing and in General Electric for 5 years, obtaining different certifications in the meantime about quality and design. She was a co-founder and organizer for various conferences, talks, and symposiums. She was invited as a speaker to different universities and congresses internationally. Her design research and development expertise is in aesthetics, symbolic meanings, manufacturing process, healthcare, and fields related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And today she's going to give a speech about symbolic and ritual objects in Mexican design. And now the stage is yours, Lilian. And thank you so much again accepting our invitation and being here with us today, early Mexico morning.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very, very honored to present to you. Let's start sharing the. Are you seeing right?
Yes, we are. You can come closer if you want, guys. Can you see it?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Just 1 second. This is our university. We make international exhibition in different places around also the world. We have design festivals and also we make research with the ONU's SDGs. But I just wanted to share you this image because we already made this exhibition last month. This is more about ceramics and lights and outdoor design. I want to show you because I will talk about outdoor design and rituals, tradition, and you will know that. First, I will talk to objects from the past, functional objects, ritual objects, luxury and power, symbolic objects. All these topics will be talked very, very fast to finish all these concepts. And the camera as an everyday object, super objects, and vernacular design. I will talk about my own project, that is Altar of the Dead. Then just Mexico since 20 years ago, just to show you how the design was changed since 20 years ago from Mexico. Then I invite Diego Galde, that is already here, and he will talk of something that will surprise you. Okay, function objects. Cover essential needs, instruments, its most primitive and merely function from such as hunting objects as you see in the image. Sorry, I can't go to the next. Okay, ritual, fetish objects that receive symbolic, magical, religious, cult values since they pose spiritual and contemplative power and value beyond their functionality. This is our death ritual. Every 2 of November, I will talk about later about my own project. Just keep in mind. Luxury and power. This is a France palace. Objects were acquired to give power to the person who owned them, that is to exercise power over the other. This is what made up the culture and was the natural way of possessing them. The object was loaded with expensive and luxurious materials. This is precious jade objects from Mayas here in Mexico. Everyday objects. This is the camera that changed everything. For the cinema covers the individual and subjective look, gaze into a controlled and collective look. The artist, I mean in the cinema, through the cinematographic camera creates an immersive environment in which the image that he shows can be seen from his angle of vision. The spectator remains static. Everything must be photographed and shown. Then this is a very powerful object that, for example, now all the people have to photograph themselves, their lives, and to share it. You already know that. This is an example of a very powerful object. And this is a super object, no? Very complex to produce. They are multifunctional, very technical, and very difficult to reproduce. You need a lot of technology to produce this kind of complex objects. And I was talking about this difference of objects because you will realize after my talk and the other examples that I will show you why it's very important this reproduction and the easy way to produce the things. For example, this is the vernacular design. I don't know if you are related to this word. The vernacular design made by the community, by their own resources, and many times the design doesn't have author. This is very important. Then I will talk about some of our designers that work with that kind of subjects. This is, for example, one of our vernacular chairs made by our artisans. And this is Oscar Hagerman. He born in Spain, but he grew up all his life in Mexico. And he made a beautiful design work for us in Mexico because he reinvented the local chair or the vernacular chair that I show. Sorry, he redesigned chairs made by communities with better process. That is very important. I told you before in the super objects that are very difficult and complex to produce. He make easily to produce and very ergonomic chair. That was very important because if you see here, there is not angle for ergonomics. The people in the communities didn't know that they need this important angle here. Then he worked with the communities. He make a beautiful work, and he's like in the 90s. He's still teaching in the UNAM, one of the most important schools in our country, and in Latin America also, with a very great researchers. He's an architect, and he also designed houses, but community houses with their own resources, and they are for example, in a very hot region, he built with the vernacular process and designs. And I show him because you know that Francis Kerr became the first African architect with the Prestigious Prize. He represents more faithful the social, cultural, and sexual realities that make up our societies. I mean, yeah, I think this is very important for this year that this architect won this prize. That I saw this relation with Oscar Hagerman, our design and architect, Mexican designer and architect. This is a chair, a vernacular chair, very famous in Mexico. The name is Acapulco chair. This is an iconic and symbolic chair for us. It's very easy to produce and build. This is just a metal frame and plastic made by hand on the chair. Then you don't need like very difficult process to build. If you look at Google, you will see a different reinterpretation about this design. This had not an author design because it's a vernacular. But if you see, many people can do a reproduction of that. A lot of artisans sell these kind of chairs in streets, in everything, also in a very luxury stores. And it was the same example as this chair. No, the artisans can rebuild this chair with a better ergonomics and better aesthetics that Oscar give to the different regions. There is another one that it's funny because Corona's chair start as an advertising furniture, designed very easy production, cheap and very resistant, not complex process, metal sheet, die cut process and bend. It's easy. And the durability is very high. Many places have this kind of furniture in the stores and everything. And we made an exercise in our university to reinterpret this chair. This chair wants a prize. This is from my student. We made a reinterpretation, a more contemporary aspect and aesthetics, but the process still easy. Then I will talk about. I have this lecture in my website, and I will read because it's very historical. Okay. Design in Mexico has been evolving over the last 15 years. Companies have gone from being manufacturers to generators of their own designs. Also, it is clear that the transition is not over and we still have companies that design, we quote, by copying. I will talk that because this is the image that I wanted to show. Then, the idea of Mexico's designs always refers to artisan production, rich in tradition, with unequal aesthetics, and Mexican designs rarely talk about an industrial design scale. This has clearly brought competition problems to the country, giving the advantage and empowerment to already developed countries. that you already know. However, little by little, this has been changing. Foreign companies have begun to promote Mexican design at industrial levels in the automotive, aeronautics, energy, household appliance, construction sector. For example, General Electric, located in a Querétaro city, that started 20 years ago to develop a design and engineering center for energy and aviation industry. Started with 100 people, and now they are almost 2,000 employees just designing. At the same time, design centers were growing in companies such as Mave, companies that start their production without a formal design department, and now have one launching products made by Mexican designers at a globally competitive level. Like, for example, we have a company like Princel, a company that designs children's products, already designed here in Mexico. Automotive industry design for Volkswagen, which are no longer just assemblies that as we started. Then other traditional companies like for seats, recliners, theater, and cinemas. And I want to stop here in the show industry in Leon, where I grew up. I born in Mexico City, but I grew up at Leon, that it's on the center of the country, because Leon have a lot of industry. They began with the need to provide the country with something basic, shoes, with materials from the region, artisans who sewed the leather by hand, and little by little, they had to compete with the aggressive Chinese market. Next, okay. Moving towards synthetics and disposable products, hiring designers not to design, but to go to work fairs and take pictures of the avant-garde and bring them to the country and develop them. And this consequently brought 4 years of delay in innovation and nullified global competitiveness. However, the shoe industry was kept afloat thanks to the manufacturing of shoes for international brands. Leon was very attractive for them because it already had the infrastructure and a lot of experience in terms of labor. But exactly where is the design? Good news for Mexico, because we since like 20 years before, there have been companies that are already designing and creating avant-garde products. Companies like Brantano, that is in the image. Quadra, Julie de Musha, Caborca, there are many of them that they believe in design, and the designers are just wonderful. It is quite interesting to see, for example, companies how, like in Situm, started in this year, like 15, 20 years ago, which have been driving innovation with research methodologies to solve problems that are solved in products, services, UX, applications, advertising, websites, have emerged in the time, and with others have been born that are also walking along at the same path. And this is from Cadena y Asociados. They design in Monterrey for all around the world. Not the world, sorry, it's the country. And I have other image, for example, El Moro. They transform the aesthetics of El Moro. They sold fries and chocolate, that is churros in Spanish. But the aesthetics changing a lot, and they open more stores and everything, all because of the design. Then it's when I'm talking to that design empower and increase also economics. Mm, sorry. Okay, I will change this. Moreover, it is not considered that signature products were proliferating in parallel to the industry, and today we find so many design offices developed successfully in some cases, and in others fighting with the rules of the market. That it's very difficult. I believe that these firms have also helped to project the aesthetics to the exterior of interior of Mexico that represent us, and that gather these visual traditions to differentiate us and generate the symbolic part that is fundamental to the rooting of a culture. However, we should not stop at this need for culture in such a limited way. Design should also be promoted in these other aspects like services, environmental impacts, physiological needs, mobility territorially. I will open a quote by Martin Juez, that is a designer and anthropology that also was a researcher in the university, as Oscar Hageman said. Some designers aspire to be the authors of great change and revolutionary innovations. The aspiration is valid, however, many limit their creativity and work, pretending to find the final solution to some ancestral need, which will be rewarded with the admiration of an elite. They induce to recreate the myth of the heroic inventor, have not been made to understand that there is no final solution in the history of innovations and design, just as there is no end to the evolution of the aspirations and desires to drive them. Then I'm showing here a photograph of a author design that is the name is Ewe. And they made a very luxury objects exhibit around the world. They won a lot of prizes also with the design. There is a Mexican stone and glass artisan, which the aesthetic it's really beautiful. But by this design, I mean the design in Mexico has already made its way, and it's evident that design is being applied. But the reflection goes beyond that. Although the design guild is aware of it, the industry and society are not sufficiently informed. They do not know the importance of value that design gives to companies. Sorry. And society is not because what we disseminate in Mexico is only authorial design, because the authorial design is like the communication, what we communicate to the countries. Okay, for example, thanks to this kind, what design can do Mexico, Tok Tok Abierto Mexicano, Design Week Mexico, to the universities and other organizations, we can exhibit and show the design, but most of the cases we show just the author objects, art, design objects, instead of industry like I showed before. Or not industry, but artisans high production. But thanks of them is why we were the Mexico City in 2019. Mexico City design, capital design, and now Tijuana and San Diego, because we already show that we make the things very well, no? And also the design increased, the studios open like for design inclusion studios and consultants, Mexican design research consultants, strategic design studios, UX design studios, healthcare, sustainable, because before the design was exhibited, like as I said in the last image, just for authorial, but the design studios increase the possibilities of design that it's now working well here. Then finally, I believe that design in Mexico has an incredible future, but we must be aware of the dissemination work that must be done, disseminate the endless possibilities that the designer has and remove the level of only author design. We cannot restrict design only to that. We must promote also the projects, products, and services that improve the social environment, cities, family life, health, and please the basic needs such as food, housing, and health. I know that you are already working with food waste. We also have research on that. But I wanted to show you the big picture of design in Mexico. The central thesis of Polish anthropologist Bronislaw Malinowski is that culture exists to satisfy the biological, physiological, and social needs of the individual, and he divides them into three categories. Basics, that is biological needs, instrumental, that is cultural needs, and the symbolic or integrative cultural needs. I talked before about this symbolic and very important object. I open quotes about Malinowski. The satisfaction of the organic or basic needs of man and his race represents a minimum set of conditions imposed in each culture. The problems posed by the nutritional, reproductive, and hygienic needs of man must be solved, and they are solved by the construction of a new environment, artificial or secondary. This was wrote in 1984. The world has changed then a lot since this thesis was published. Nevertheless, the basic needs of our culture remain the same, contrary to the fabricated needs which are continually feeding, responding to the order of the markets in a hyper-capitalism that is generated by governments and transnational companies, but which is also already tattooed on the human being and continues to recreate itself with the infinite desires according to the anthropological studies of Marshall Challis. Poverty is not related to how much or how little we possess, but lies in the interpersonal relationship, while opulence does not guarantee the satisfaction of these needs. On the other hand, George Basaya comments that we cultivate perceived needs and not necessarily the basic ones, creating excessively complex systems to satisfy them. And with this, I remember you the last picture, that the super object, these complex systems, and sometimes you do not need that kind of super objects. No? If you forget your phone, maybe you will cry all the day, but in the second day you will see that it's not always necessary. These complexity objects help a lot, yes, but we have to think about this complex object if it's necessary all the time. No? There are many furniture very complex already, beds that have a lot of technology, fridge that have a lot of technology, and laundry systems, and sometimes you just only use one option of these complex objects because they are very complex to use. To conclude this, I want to say that we must go back to the basics, address the problems, and go into the industry to generate products that do have a social impact, to create a culture of design in our society, so that it's the worldwide to design and not fall short in the role of design. And sorry, I don't know. I will stop here. I have the last project that was designed. I was the author of that in the art direction. I received many help, but I don't know if you have one question about the last thoughts. Or do you want that I finish with this and the questions?
I have a question. You mentioned at the beginning of your talk some 2,000 designers in a center. Could you give some detail about that? What was it? I missed it.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
In the beginning of your talk, you mentioned that there are some places in Mexico with 2,000 designers.
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah, it's in General Electric open in Querétaro City with 100 designers and engineering place, and in 10 years it grew up to 2,000 engineers and designers departments just designing, no manufacturing process there, and this was. I was very, very proud to work on that project. Now it's not the same because the market in general will go down.
Okay.
But Mexico, we're exporting this kind of design, untangible and intelligence design, not just products.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Then, okay, I will talk about the altar very, very, very fast. This was developed by INIMA organization, and the art direction, and the concept was by me. I received help of the two designers, Javier Ibarra and David Vivanco. We work for the Mujeres Alfareras de Tláhuac, that is Tláhuac's women potters. And altar of death, if you Google, you can show many kinds of aesthetics of altar, many ways of expression. The people as in December with these Christmas trees. At 2 of November, they build their altars to welcome their familiars that already dead. The altar shown in this image is an object that symbolizes a sacred space to place objects and photographs that remember our deceased, and with this to have a ritual place to remember them, a spiritual place to connect with them, to pray and send them light, a place where memories can be embraced and we can take a moment of silence, spiritually, and reflections. The design of the altar has 3 levels made of sheet metal, cut and folded with a graphic reminiscence of paper, papel picado, that is the name that we use. This is a folded paper. Then the aesthetic of this metal was inspired by this kind of paper. With the stylized Aztec symbols, symbols that symbolize the sky, fertility, earth, and the underworld. The ritual of these 2 of November have 100 tradition with a mix of Catholic and Aztec rituals. Then it was a mix, but also it's very. We have a lot of diffusion of these kinds of rituals in Mexico, Michoacán, in the south of Mexico also. Then, okay, next image, sorry. Sometimes I can do next. The ceramic objects were made by the woman potters that I taught, Tlawak, a cooperative who seek through pottery to improve the living conditions of women who have suffered violence, in addition to continuing to promote craftsmanship and pottery in their community. In the last year, because of COVID, they were passing a very, very bad time. They couldn't sell their stuff. Then that's why INIMA organization think to create an object, a design to increase their sales. Mexico's population has a large amount of informal labor, and the income of artisans to the economy represents one of the fundamental parts of our wealth. This is why artisans' work must continue to be promoted. From this idea, the allowed sales in which they were in the pandemic, Minima Foundation initiated the awareness project, an idea to generate a product that could improve the sales. You see here in the altar, we ask for one head and four candles, 4 pieces for candles, copal, that I don't know the translation, sorry, but this is something that has smells, like have a special smells. Two things for tequila, because here you can when the people in the 2 of November came to visit us. This is what they believe. You receive with food and with tequila, with water, there's salt. There's a lot of stuff that you can put on the altar to receive the people that already passed away. This is me. We visit these artisans to think about. Actually, this is some mock-ups. The design is very simple, as you see. They are just sheets, and was because I just wanted to show to exhibit the beautiful pieces that the artisans already made. This is another visit. That in the design stages, the following points were considered. Symbolic, that is present every day, it is part of the life, to know that we have to deal with the loss of a loved one. I will read faster because I want to leave time to Diego, sorry. So the project was born from the idea of having a worldly space to remember our loved ones and provide it with ritual and symbolic powers to make it highly significant in our culture and abroad. The aesthetics, the simplicity in the basis of the altar has a shape that alludes to the Papel I already talked. Cultural, it is an object that can be used in Mexican celebration of the Day of Death on November 2, just as it happens with the Christmas tree on December 24, in which every year the houses are decorated with different types of trees. Natural business and show, so that they can have one more object to market and increase their income from an object that speaks of our culture and is highly ritualistic in our country, in addition to the object. The economic, the simplicity, as I talked before about other examples, of the design is so flexible that it can be made in different materials, adapting to both a high economic and luxury also subject. Functional, the packaging, okay, this is the industrial part of the altar. And these are the pieces. The packaging is very simple, and the same structure of the C-shaped levels protect the ceramic object that they can be transported easily, safely, compactly, and economically. Then I think I will finish with this to leave more time. This is the package, and this is how the people that build the altar use it. Still, the people are still creating themselves. As you see here is food, salt, bread. Some of them are, for example, the photograph of people, and that's all.
Thank you very much, Lilian. This is especially the state of altar was amazing for me to see how. Also, it's interesting because you bring two different cultural histories together, isn't it? And also what I loved in the end that you are sharing with the social media and so on how they are using it, and I'm really amazed to see. And you provoke me, and I think for also for suggestions for the students, like sometimes when you are in a culture, you become blind to what you have. So, and the designers should be aware of what we have. And in that sense, I think I found your, especially the because you could go more deeply in the last example. It's a very provoking for us, also for our works, that whatever we do, I always feel the need that we should go back and look at ourselves, what we have. And thank you very much for that. And also, you're showing not only the arts part, but you're showing us how Mexico City became the design capital, how it changed with going from, as you were saying, like the super objects, from the complex objects to the arts and the variety. You're not losing your localities, but you are matching with the global world. So it's a compact movement, and I think that's what we could really see in your presentation. And I see also sometimes some similarities in a way between Mexico and Turkey.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I mean, I don't know. We always feel close with the food, with the culture. There is something to that. But I would say, except the head skeleton, I think it's not a very common thing for our culture.
Yeah, I know that it's very, very hard to understand this head, because for us it's very normal to see it, but it's very strong and difficult, but because it's in our blood.
Sure.
But I hope you understand the meaning about the death in Mexico, that many countries talk about that. And I wanted to talk more about the reflection of design and of the object, because yes, we have a lot of grateful designers, but it could be another lecture.
Yeah, this although I mean it's interesting because although we don't have that sort of the skeletons and so on, but for example there was a project going on in Izmir and there are different cultures and we are a mix of different localities, cultures and immigrants from Anatolia and other sides and for example we have this paganic thing that people go on 22nd of March to the cemeteries with food and make a picnic there with the food that whom the dead would love, and they cook for them, and that brings them together in the cemeteries. And I didn't know that it was just by our side. It's also interesting to there's not one local culture. There are local cultures, and you dig into it and see some what's exactly happening just right beside you. And I think that's a good connection to the dead, to eat for them, to drink with them within the cemetery. That's an interesting thing as well. Now I've been thinking while I was watching your presentation.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to understand that kind of rituals, but as designers, we have to deal with that and to understand all these cultural rituals. Just one thing, I want to introduce Diego because we have
Sure.
he have a beautiful example of this.
Okay, please, let's see.
Could you introduce yourself, Diego?
Merhaba, iyi günler. Günaydın burada.
Ah,
Ben, benim adım Diego Ugalde,
oh
Meksika'dan.
my God!
Merhaba.
Kuklacıyım.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias, günaydın, because it's really early here, but we are very çok mutluyum to be with you. We will continue in English because not everybody speaks this beautiful language. But if you can allow, I am allowed to share screen, right? Yes. Let's share.
Diego, how you speak Turkish so good? You have to say that.
Okay. So as I was saying, I am a kuklacı, a puppeteer from Mexico. The name of my puppet company is Compañía Mundial de Marionetas. I've been a puppeteer since 2003. And actually, I studied puppet theater in Paris and for a year in 2006. And afterwards, I continued as an apprentice of different puppet traditions. And this took me to Istanbul in 2007, where I met my ustad, my teacher, who is, where is the next? Why does it go to the next? Okay, my computer is slow apparently. Yes! My teacher is Cengiz Özek, one of the maximum teachers of the Karagöz tradition of Turkey. And my objective was to learn the shadow theater tradition, the very ancient shadow theater tradition of Turkey, which is, I don't know, considered like a heritage of humanity by UNESCO. Because mainly I wanted to learn how to make color shadow puppets, because you may be very used to your shadow theater, but in the West we only do like opaque shadows that don't show the colors on the screen. So I really wanted to learn this tradition, and I went to Istanbul, and Cengiz was very, very kind to share with me all the knowledge, and in a very generous way he didn't charge me. So, and he kind of adopted me as an apprentice. With this, I came back to Mexico in 2010, and I started to apply the techniques of to build shadow puppets of the Turkish tradition to Mexican designs. I started to make my own stories. This is from a play called El Violín Mágico, the magic violin, in which we use traditional Mexican music to tell a story. As you can see, it's also influenced by the Greek version.
No vemos las demás slides.
¿No ven nada? Ah,
Sí.
qué raro.
No, sí vemos, pero no pueden, puedes pasar a las.
Can you
Would you
turn
like
it?
to-
Can you turn it off and turn on again? Is that okay? Can we make a try?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Pero entonces ahí nada más ven la primera línea, ¿no? ¿Cómo?
Sí, solo la uno. Ok,
Ah,
con las flechitas a lo mejor se cambia la siguiente slide.
And we see error
¿se cambió o no?
No.
the-
Ah, tienes un error. Ahí ya ven. Ya.
I see.
¿Ya?
Ok. Ya.
Ah, so this is my teacher, Yannis Ozek, I was telling you about. It's a very fun photograph from one of his main plays called the Magic Street. He's a puppeteer from, well, one of the maximum masters of the Karagöz now in Istanbul. He's the director of the International Puppet Festival of Istanbul and many things. But this is the one I wanted to show. You are seeing it now, no? Ahora sí, Lilian, ¿no? ¿Sí se ve?
Sí, sí.
Perfecto, yeah. So then what I was saying is I took the technique of the building of the Caracas Shadow Theater and applied it to Mexican stories. And in this particular play, El Violín Mágico, we also used the influence of the Greek style of the Turkish Shadow Theater, which I find very interesting how, I mean, when I introduce myself in Mexico, I don't say I use Ishtek, I use an Ottoman technique because I find it very interesting how it traveled to all these countries and it was appropriated by different nationalities and different aesthetics. No? So as you can see here in the main character, El Guerreque, this very long arm is actually taken from the Greek version of Karagos, which is Karagiosis, but it's basically the same. So then, in 2016, we made this play. It's called Nos Volvimos Búfalos, we became buffaloes. And this is a more complex experiment on interculturality because it's a Turkish technique made by Mexican puppeteers telling a story about the Lakota indigenous people of the United States. So it's really a mixture of three cultures in one. And it was the first play that Genghis came to direct with us here in Mexico. And I think well, there was a big evolution in our aesthetic world. Shadow puppets are very linked to design because they're two-dimensional, so it involves a lot of drawing. But of course, we are designing an object that will later be used to perform as a strange copy of an actor. No? So it's an object that has to be designed to transmit emotions on stage. So I think it's a very particular thing. Time is almost over, but I wanted to show you the last play I worked in. This is called The Biggest Sister in the World. And as you can see, we finally understood the importance of following the exact proportions of the Karagöz Hacivat characters. You can see here the designs we did on paper. And although we are making Mexican characters using elements from our indigenous cultures, both pre-Hispanic and contemporary, it was the first time I did copy the proportions of the Karagöz and Hacivat characters, not only because they are funny, but because they work. And it's really beautiful for me to understand after a long travel of many years that these proportions are not just made for aesthetic reasons, but they are also very functional. When you use this kind of proportion on stage, you can move these characters, the two characters with only two hands, which for a puppeteer is very important. And the kind of movements you get from the puppets are very organic, very dynamic, and this is a result of 500 years of evolution in puppet design within the tradition of the Caracas, and maybe even more, no? Because we can say 500 years of Caracas theater, but it's most probably 800 years, no? We don't even know the real origins of Caracas. Probably came from Central Asia, all the way from China. Probably they came from Egypt. So it's all really the story of the history of this object is thousands of years old, and it has finally arrived to Mexico. So teşekkür ediyorum, and this is it. If you have questions about this very fun presentation of shadow puppetry, you can do it. Yeah.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Gerçek.
Thank you, Diego.
Teşekkürler.
Okay, you cannot see the students, but they are teşekkür ediyorlar, Diego. And also to you, Lilian. This was really like I'm smiling. You gave me a really big smile. Everybody's smiling here. And what I really love the way you say that it's like how many cultures are accumulated into this last puppet you showed us. Is like maybe China, Egypt, Ottoman, Greece, and Mexico, and Turkish culture. Everything is dissolved into it. I'm really amazed to see it. This is, I think, we started like this global or art crafts designs, but now we are seeing how they merge with one another, and this was a great bridge for us to. I thought that we're gonna end up in food, not because of food waste, but I find food very close, But I've never thought of puppets, so I'm really amazed. And this also like opening our eyes now. Now you made us, both of you started to go back to ourselves. That's, I think, to realize, and also go back to you, like seeing Mexican crafts and other things to bring them together. So thank you very much. This is really amazing. I'm really, we're flattered, happy, and so we wish you were here, both of you.
Just Diego, could you share your screen just to see your faces for the students?
Share the screen. Yes.
We are seeing him. Okay, students are coming here as well, so you can see them.
Beautiful, yes.
Let me put on my. Evet. Bunu da yaptık ya.
We can take a picture together.
Who can take?
Wow.
Beautiful. Yapmamız lazım.
Beautiful.
Kalabalığı görsün istiyorum. Kalabalığımız.
I already took a picture.
Can you stop sharing the? Can I stop the sharing? Or you can stay. How do we take your photo? Okay, this is fine.
Okay.
You can look at him there.
Got everything together right now. And I also want to say that Diego didn't talk about them because he had a very, very big project for many years that he started, but he also worked with a lot of communities. He taught these histories to our regional cultures, and also in their language. That it's very amazing because Diego is he taught all the language around the world, as you saw. Then Diego lived in a little town in Mexico with a Otomi culture, and he spoke in the theater puppets with their own language to keep the culture and the tradition of Mexico. Then that's why I'm very proud from Diego.
Teşekkürler Lilian. Mutlu oldum.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank
you.
Yes, okay, the
Güle güle.
Bye, thank you.
No, actually, yeah, we were quite good with the numbers, so I wanted to also make them come and see you. So we are so happy to that you are here with us, and I hope to next time you come here or we come to Mexico. That would be the best, I think, to create something. Lilian also, maybe we can make some collaborative work. Now I'm thinking we can say to our department and do something, and especially with specific to puppets. I remember in a course, a master's course I was studying in Istanbul Technical University. One of our friends was working especially for interaction design with the shadow puppets. And also we have visual communication design department, industrial design department. That would be a nice, interesting, I don't know.
Ebru Korsin is working on Karagöz and Hacivat actually. She has a publication about it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, I just mentioned about this talk right now to her. Maybe she can watch later.
Okay, we will make sure, and maybe we can send you some works from here for you, Diego and Lilian.
For sure, thank you.
I don't know.
Evet.
You know how to make it better, Diego. Yani sen daha iyi bilirsin ama.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk about the camera and the cinema, but you don't have the master on that.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much then we don't want to take your more than now it's 7 o'clock I think now. Thank you for also waking up this early for us to be with us. And we hope to see you again. We have to see you soon. Yes, Mariana is putting her heart, I don't know, after the heart.
For sure. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Mubarak.
Amazing.